Hare Krishna. It's working.
Okay.
Yeah, it's working. Yeah.
Just wondering if you write something, or let me see. Check. Yeah.
Hmm. Okay. It's visible for those behind also. Can you read it? Or you may have to come a little ahead for that purpose. Okay. So, this is I'm grateful to be here with all of you today. And the Bhagavad Gita is a book of wisdom. Simultaneously, it's also the instructions given by the Lord. So Krishna doesn't just give us instructions and tell us do this and leave us. Krishna wants to empower us to apply his instructions. So if we consider Krishna to be here above us and we are here below, so at one level, Krishna is giving us instructions, wisdom in the Bhagavad Gita. Now, I have been writing on the Bhagavad Gita for the last 15 years. On my website gitadaily.com, I have more than 5,000 articles. And every day I've been writing one article. So, from the start of this year, I have started writing prayers inspired by the Bhagavad Gita. So, I saw that the Bhagavad Gita is not just an analytical philosophical book, it's also a book where Krishna is expressing his heart. So if we can take the verses that Krishna has given and see them as inspirations for prayer, that prayer, that Krishna, what you are telling me, help me to apply that in my life. And that way we can see how there is a whole wealth of not just wisdom but devotional connection through prayer that can be inspired. So there are many prayers of the acharyas which are directly inspired by the verses of the Bhagavad Gita. For example, Krishna says, Teshamaham samuddharta mrityu samsara sagarat. Krishna says, I will deliver you from the ocean of material existence. And Krishna says, I'll deliver you from the ocean of material existence. What is happening is that Kulashekar Maharaj is praying, Samsara sagar nimagna mananta deenam uddharatum arhasi hare purushottamosmi. He's saying that this ocean of material existence is unsurpassable, but you, O Lord, it behooves you to uplift me from this ocean. So what is the mood over there? Why does it behoove you? Because you have promised that, O Lord, in the Gita. So like that, we can see the Gita's verses as inspirations for prayer. So we'll talk about 7.7 today. So can you have a copy of the book? So, yeah. So actually this is in that book we have till chapter 6, we don't have chapter 7, but I'm writing the next part of the book. But what we are doing over here is, you'll see there's a picture of a deity of Krishna, and there's a prayer inspired by the verse, and then there is each verse, and then there is a poetic translation of the verse so that we can connect with that verse better. And then there is a small one-page prayer. And this way I found there's so much of our daily challenges and daily needs we can connect with Krishna. So I've taken 122 verses from the first 6 chapters, and that's become one book. Like that I'm trying to make 3 books, 122 and 122, so total 366 verses. So we'll look at something from that book, but let's look at, because we are on 7.7, let's focus on that. Is this visible? Visible for everyone?
Yes.
Okay. So if you like, you can repeat after me. My dear Lord, let me cast far away the illusion that you are far away. Yes. So let's recite the verse. Mattaha parataram nanyat Kinchid asti dhananjaya Mai sarvam idam protam Sutre mani ganaiva. Beyond me, nothing exists. On me, the whole world subsists. Into being, all things I bring, like shiny pearls on a string. This is a poetic translation. So I'd like to request different participants to read one paragraph if you like. Who would like to read one paragraph? Do we have a second mic by any chance? It's not working. You can read loudly otherwise.
Hare Krishna. Now, dear Lord, grant me the intelligence to see how you, who is invisible, sustain all that is visible.
Yeah.
It's so easy, O Almighty Lord, to get caught in the things that glitter. In this world, there are so many sights and smells and sounds and similar sensory manifestations that can attract and amaze. You alone can empower me to see beyond them to what is actually sustaining them. You, just as an art connoisseur, appreciates a classic work of art, but never fails to appreciate the artist whose creativity made the art possible. Bless me to similarly appreciate not just the beauty of nature, but also you as the incredible hand that draws on the canvas of nature.
Yes, thank you. So, the Bhagavad Gita has its own internal and dynamic flow. Broadly, when Krishna starts the Gita, his purpose is not necessarily to either teach Dhyan Yoga or Karma Yoga or Bhakti Yoga. The Gita starts with Krishna addressing Arjuna's question. And Arjuna's question is, what should I do? Should I fight or should I not fight? Now from that point, Krishna keeps speaking. As Arjuna keeps asking questions, Krishna keeps answering the questions. So broadly speaking, we could say that the Gita structure is that 2.7 begins a question. The question is, what is dharma? What is the right thing to do? Pruchhami tvam dharma sammudha cheta. And the whole Gita is an answer to that question. Now, while answering that question, while Krishna answers the question, Arjuna is not very clear. Arjuna is confused. So it's like, say, if our child is sick and we go to a doctor. Now, we are not really interested in allopathy or homeopathy or this pathy or that pathy. We are interested in treating our child. Now, for treating our child, the doctor may say, okay, allopathy can do this, homeopathy can do this, naturopathy can do this. So then we might get involved in understanding those things. So like that, Krishna starts by addressing Arjuna's problem. And what should I do? And during that process, there are, in the course of the Gita, this is the one, we can say meta question or the mega question that drives the whole Gita. And within that, there are multiple other questions that keep coming. So these questions drive the Gita at various places. So right now, so like that, there are total 18 questions in the Gita. Now we are in the 7th chapter. And the 7th chapter, so the way the Gita flows is that Krishna has not really directly talked about himself till now in the Gita much. So Krishna has talked about Karma Yoga because Arjuna is basically confused about what to do. So should I act or should I renounce? So Krishna says, first act, do your responsibilities, and then later on you can renounce the world. But when Krishna talks about renunciation, so the way the Gita goes is that if you consider the first 6 chapters, chapters 1 to 6, 1 to 5, Krishna is talking about Karma Yoga. In the 6th chapter, Krishna talks about Dhyan Yoga. And then he says in 6.47, the perfection of Dhyan Yoga is to absorb the mind in me. Yoginam api sarvesham madgate nanataratmana. Shraddhavan bhajate yomam samay yuktatamu mata. So there, Arjuna says that, before this itself, Arjuna has said that in 6, that the process you are giving is very difficult. This doesn't seem to be practical for me. So Krishna outlines this process, and then after that, as you could say, as an alternative pathway to the same summit, Krishna gives Bhakti Yoga. So from the 7th chapter onwards, Bhakti Yoga starts. And so in the first few chapters, the focus is on detachment. Krishna says that stay equipoised amidst happiness and distress, be let go of the results, be detached. But the whole focus here is attachment. But attachment to Krishna. There is divine attachment, attachment to the divine. The whole 7.1 itself begins with, the first word is Mai Asakta Manaha. Don't make your mind detached, make your mind attached to me. Mai Asakta Manaha. And for making the mind attached, now Krishna will give the knowledge. That 7.1 states that if you want to make your mind attached to me, what do you do? Tat Shrunu. Hear from me the knowledge by which you will be inspired to take shelter of me. You will become free from doubts, and you will become attached to me. Your mind will become attached to me. So now to help Arjuna become attached to, the mind to become attached to Krishna, Krishna is describing the nature of the world. And in this particular verse, so if you go to the 7th chapter, in chapter 7, Krishna gives, in one sense, the Gita's flow is, it starts at the top and then gets to the top gradually. So 7.1 is the top. And how do we get to the top? That's what is described now. So the glory of the knowledge that is described in first 3 verses till 7.3. And then 7.4 to 6, Krishna describes material nature. And he says that Bhumirapo, Nalo, Vayu, all these material elements are there. And then he says, these are my energy, but they are sustained by me. So, Mattaha Parataram Na Anyat. That there is nothing beyond me that exists. By me, everything subsists. And Sutre Manigana Eva. It's one of the most beautiful metaphors that God is present with us, within us. God is present in nature. And the theme I'll talk about today is this itself, that Krishna is not far away from us. See, we may think that this is my life and this is the world I go through, and if I go through the world, then at the end of my life, I will go to Krishna. So Krishna is, we may see Krishna as our destination. And there is some truth to that. But Krishna doesn't just exist up there in the spiritual world. So this is the material world where we live in, and that is the spiritual world. But Krishna doesn't just exist up there. Actually, everything exists within Krishna. So Krishna is right now with us as our companion. So Krishna is here now. And the illusion is, the title of this prayer was, free me, please send that you are far away, that is an illusion. That let me cast far away the illusion that you are far away. So when Krishna says that I am like the underlying pearl of truth, the underlying necklace and the pearls of this universe, underlying thread in the pearls that are there in this world. So what does it mean? We see many visible things over here, which are very attractive. The necklace looks very attractive because of the pearls, the jewels in it. But there is a thread. And Krishna is the thread. Krishna is what enables everything to be sustained. Let's try to understand that a little bit more. So Krishna is not far away from us. Krishna is here right now with us. Who would like to read the next paragraph? Anyone? Yes, please.
My unfailing Lord, you are much more than the brilliant hand behind nature. You are also its beating heart. You exist everywhere and always in nature through your immanent manifestation as a supersoul. You are never far away from your creation, but as long as I believe you are far away from me, I end up being far away from you. You permeate the very fabric of creation and exist within its every fiber as its elusive yet essential sustainer.
Yes, it's elusive yet essential sustainer. One of the things that the Bhagavad Gita does is it expands our conception of God. That we may think of God as a being who we pray to, and that is true. But God is much, much more than that. And this idea that we all, now what does this mean practically where we are right now? That when we try to develop love for Krishna, when we try to remember Krishna, many times if we do not have a proper understanding of God, then we tend to compartmentalize our life in a very disruptive way. It's that say, this is the spiritual world, this is the material world, and we may think that going to God is, I just leave this world and go to Krishna. And the idea is, this world is the place of Maya. This is all Maya. But what is important is that this is Maya and there is Krishna. But the Gita's understanding, yes, this world is Maya, but actually Maya is also within Krishna. Later on in this section, Krishna will say, Mama Maya Duratya. Mama Maya. Maya is my energy. That Maya is also under me and within me. So there are two distinct ways of looking at the world. We can look at the world as a place of entanglement, as the domain of Maya. And there is a reason to see it like that, and I'll talk about it. But we can see this world also as the domain of Krishna. And we see it as the domain of engagement. That I engage in this world in a mood of service to Krishna. So basically when Arjuna wants to renounce the world, Krishna says, you do not leave the world and go to me. Krishna says, you go through the world to me. Krishna says this world is real. Sometimes we may get a very negative understanding of this world. This world is dukkhalaya. Yes, it is a place of distress. But that does not mean Krishna is saying this world is a place of distress, you stay in distress forever. No. The message of the Gita is Arjuna is in distress and Krishna's message solaces him. It relieves him of his distress. So it's a very affirmative, life-affirming, world-affirming message. In fact, Krishna considers this world so important that when things go wrong in this world, he descends to this world to bring order over here. And he does this again and again. Sambhavami yuge yuge. He comes again and again. So basically the world, we can see it in two ways. One is, we see it as the domain of Maya. Then we see it is a place of entanglement. I just have to get out of this world. But we see the domain of Krishna, then it is a place of engagement. That I engage in this world for the sake of Krishna, for serving Krishna. So the idea is, Krishna doesn't just exist in the future. It is not that I am alone in this world struggling and fighting, managing all my responsibilities and trying to practice my bhakti, dealing with all the conditionings of my mind. And I am alone struggling over here. Somehow I have to fight my way. And finally when I fight my way and succeed, then I'll find Krishna at the end. Now, Krishna is not simply waiting for us at the end of the battle. Krishna is with us, working with us for us to fight the battle. So this idea that God is here with us right now, it's such a empowering understanding. Like in the Bhagavad Gita itself, Krishna is with Arjuna, right now with him. Can we go back to that, the book that you have been given? I would like to read one particular thing from there. Because this concept of God, please go to 1.1. Rather, sorry. Not 1.1. Yeah. You can go to 1.14, that is page number 22. So that Krishna, God, is right now here with us. You can repeat after me if you like. Let me remember, my dear Lord, that my life story is a part of your story. So, Krishna's plan is not that, oh, you come home, then we'll have a life with us. No. Our story is a part of Krishna's story. So, this is 1.14. I'll just read the translation. Then Krishna and Arjuna, standing tall on the chariot, white steeds and all, blew their conches loud and bright, a sound that shook the field with might. So Arjuna is blowing the conch shell. So just like here say, my dear Lord, you are always with me in the chariot of this body, just as you were with Arjuna on the battlefield. So the Gita is not just describing a historical truth. Just like the body is Arjuna was on a chariot, our body is also often compared to a chariot. And on that chariot, Krishna and Arjuna were there. Like that, in our body chariot, we as the Atma is there. And the Paramatma is with us right now. Krishna is here with us. So what does this imply? That's what I'll talk about. Three main things today. That this understanding that God is here with us. That there is God's presence. So if God is here, there is God's presence, there is God's purpose, and there is God's power. We talk about Arjuna becomes empowered. So the idea that Krishna is here, the God's presence, let's look at it one by one, what it means. That we look at the things of this world and we may desire, oh, I want to get this. Or we may say, this is a lot of trouble, I want to avoid this. So for us, generally speaking, in our life journey, the world is very big. And God, even if He exists, He is small. When I was introduced to Bhakti about 30 years ago, I started talking, I was so inspired by it that I started talking about it with all my relatives and friends and colleagues. So one of my uncles told me, God. So I have a very good relationship with God. And I said, okay, I had never heard him talk about anything spiritual. It was not a person who went much to the temple. So I said, what do you mean a good relationship with God? So he said, our relationship is mutual non-interference. I am happy here, he is happy there. Let it be as it is. No, but the thing is that we won't be happy here for very long. We are all going to grow old. Things are going to go wrong. So for many people, God seems to be irrelevant. Even if He exists, He is irrelevant. But as we grow spiritually, what happens is the world becomes smaller and Krishna becomes bigger. So Krishna becomes the bigger reality. What does it mean, bigger reality? That Krishna is more important. The world can give me many things, and the things are important. We need food, we need shelter, we need those things. But actually our well-being depends not so much on the things that we have, it depends on the thoughts we have in our inner world. And it is Krishna who can provide us with positive, joyful thoughts. Even the best things in the world cannot create the best thoughts in us, inside us. So that understanding that, say, there might be a lot of things going wrong in our life. If we come to a temple, we hear some kirtan, we go to some sacred place, we start feeling some calmness. We may not rationally even understand why we are feeling calm, but we feel some calmness. What is happening is we are being ushered into the presence of a far bigger reality. So when God becomes the bigger reality, God's presence in our life, that calms us. See, the world is always filled with ups and downs. Kabhi khushi, kabhi gum. And when the world is very big for us, the highs we go very high, the lows we go very low. So we become almost bipolar, unstable. One day on top of the world, the other day we are under our blanket and we don't want to get out at all. So we become very unpredictable, unreliable, we become very moody. Why? Because life has ups and downs and we go up and down with it. But when the world becomes small, the world's ups and downs also become small. So here, the first result of the world becoming smaller because Krishna becomes bigger is that we be peaceful. God's presence brings peace. And that understanding that Krishna is here now, all that I have to do is just tune my consciousness to his presence. I was in Australia a few years ago, and there's an interfaith panel discussion, and the topic was, why has God not died till now? Now what do you mean by that? Their idea is that there are many sociologists and philosophers, they said that the idea of God is basically an irrational, unscientific idea. And as science grows, rationality grows, people will reject the idea of God. While it has happened that materialism has grown, atheism has grown, but in many parts of the world, faith in God and religion has also grown. So one reason is that no matter how much scientific and technological advancement we make, that cannot provide us peace of mind. So God's presence, if we bring ourselves into God's presence, we experience peace. So Krishna is not in the future in the spiritual world. He's here with us, and if we just learn to tune our consciousness to him. So the practice of bhakti, when we chant the holy names, when we worship Krishna, when we come and hear about Krishna, all this is meant to remind us that Krishna exists and Krishna is the bigger reality. When I said God becomes bigger for us, what it means is God is always the biggest reality, but for us he becomes the bigger reality. The problem is, quite often for us, the world is visible. You can say Maya is not just visible, Maya is ultra visible. And Krishna is invisible. But Krishna, although Krishna is invisible, Krishna is not inconsequential. Now, what our practice of bhakti and our spirituality can give us, none of the visible things in this world can give us. So Krishna's presence, it's a matter of, through bhakti what are we doing? We are tuning ourselves to Krishna's presence. So bhakti is a matter of tuning our consciousness. Now beyond that, okay, we may say I come to a temple, I do some kirtan, I feel nice, I feel peaceful, and then I have to go and face my life. And my life is filled with all challenges. So it's like it is a nice retreat going to the temple. But it's not just that. That actually, for us, God's presence is not the only thing. That God has a purpose for us. That if we look at this, the understanding God's presence can give us peace. Arjuna had to fight a war he didn't want to fight. But Krishna said that beyond what you are thinking or what you are analyzing, there is a plan over here. And understanding that made him peaceful. He said that Nashto moha sthitosmi gata sandhi. Sthitosmi, I become peaceful. But beyond that, God has a purpose for life. And we as parts of God have a purpose within His purpose. So, does anyone know what is 15.7 in the Bhagavad Gita? Mamaivamsho jivaloke. Krishna says, all living beings are my parts. So we are parts of Krishna. And Krishna, he says, we are parts of Krishna always. Now this is a philosophical truth, but we only stick at a philosophical level. However, it has a psychological and a practical application. If we are parts of Krishna, that means we have parts in Krishna's plan. And we have parts in Krishna's plan always. It's like, say, if somebody is a part of the Indian national cricket team, or somebody is a part of the English cricket team. If they are a part of the team, then they have a part in the team. It could be they're a fast bowler, they're a medium pacer, they are a spinner, they are an opening batsman, they're a middle order batsman, whatever it is. They have a part. Now, of course, in a cricket team, players may be dropped out. But Krishna says, Sanatanaha. We will never be dropped from Krishna's team. We may forget that we are a part of Krishna's team, but we are always a part of Krishna's team. That means that not only is Krishna existing, Krishna is here through all the chaos that is going on in our life. Now, Krishna has a plan that is going on. And Krishna has a part for us in his plan. So Krishna tells Arjuna, you are thinking, how can I fight against Bhishma and Drona? I don't want a kingdom. He says, I don't want you to fight just to gain a kingdom. I want you to fight as a part of my plan to bring dharma into the world, to bring a virtuous order into the world. So our actions, we are taking care of our family, we are doing our jobs, we are living in a particular country. These are not disconnected from Krishna's plan. We are meant to be a part of Krishna's plan. So our life story is a part of Krishna's story. Now we may be conscious of it, we may not be conscious of it. We may be participating in it wholeheartedly, we may not be participating wholeheartedly. But we are always a part of that. So this brings a sense of purpose, it brings a sense of reassurance for us. That it's not just, peace is more passive. Like I said, that, I come to a temple, I feel nice, I go back, and again my whole life agitation is there. But Krishna wants us to serve him through what we do in the world. The idea is that if there's a mountain and there's an ocean, the river moves towards the ocean. Like that, all of us are meant to move towards the ocean of Krishna. But different rivers take different paths towards the ocean. And each river, when it's taking its particular path, it benefits so many life forms by providing life-sustaining water along the way. Like that, through our journey in life, we provide that life-sustaining water for our family, for our community, for whatever is the circle of influence that we have. That is, the path that we influence during the course of our life, that is our kshetra. Kshetra is our area of influence. So Krishna is, in the future verses, Krishna will talk about, I am ability in human beings. Now what does this mean, I am ability in human beings? So before I go into that part, Krishna's purpose. When we say, if Krishna has a purpose, does that mean that, how does it work with our free will? And sometimes we misuse our free will. Yes, that is true. But Krishna is so expert that he can work his plan in various ways. So Krishna's plan is such that he can work it in even through the misunderstandings that we may have, the mistakes that we may face, the mistakes that we may do. Krishna's plan keeps working. So let's consider an incident from the Ramayana. There is the story of Sugriv. Now Sugriv was the younger brother of the Vanara king. What was his name? Vali. Yes. Now they were not just brothers, they were the best of friends and best of allies. Unfortunately, there was a misunderstanding because of which Vali thought that Sugriv tried to kill me. And Vali decided that before Sugriv can try to kill me again, I will kill him. And he started sending assassins all over to kill Sugriv, and he tried to kill him himself. Sugriv had to flee all over the earth, trying to find some way or the other to hide. Constantly he was looking over his back, looking over his shoulder. Wherever he would go, if I'm at this place, what is the easiest way to get out of this place? Where the hiding place is? From where can I run away? And he was chased all over the world. Now the whole thing was a terrible misunderstanding. But Vali was just not ready to listen to reason. And then finally, Sugriv found a safe haven. Where was that? Sorry? It was the Rishayamukha mountain. It was right next to Vali's kingdom. Vali could not come there because of a curse that a sage had given to him. So now Sugriv could have been frustrated. This place was so close by. I have been searching all over. Why didn't I think of this place? Why didn't I find this place before? Now, I was giving this talk in Singapore, and one devotee raised his hand. He said, now Sugriv was frustrated, Vali was also frustrated. Sugriv is right here, but I can't do anything to him. So he said, the way Vali must have felt about Sugriv, China feels about Taiwan like that. But anyway, then eventually Vali was killed, and then Sugriv was assisting Lord Ram in finding Sita. And when he had called all his Vanaras and he was giving them instructions, detailed instructions he gave. He says, when you go in the east, go this way. When you come to this mountain, here it's very difficult to cross, go from here, it's easier to cross. And when you go northward, there's a river over here. The river is very dangerous to cross over here, but here it's much more easily crossable. And he gave detailed instruction. Lord Ram was hearing, and after that, Sugriv approached Lord Ram, and Ram said to him, "Hey, in school, was geography your favorite subject?" He didn't say that literally. He said, "You seem to know a lot of things about the world." And when Sugriv was explaining that how he had been running from Vali, at that time it struck him that through all that running away from Vali and discovering hiding places and pathways across the world that he had done, he was being prepared for serving Lord Ram over here. So the misunderstanding between Vali and Sugriv was terrible. But Krishna's plan can work even through the misunderstanding that happened in our life. So the idea is that Krishna has a purpose for all of us, and our mistakes or anybody else's manipulation, nothing can thwart that plan. Krishna's plan is too big to be thwarted by any human being. So Krishna, in that sense, is like the ultimate GPS. It's God's positioning system. That we may take some wrong turns, but no turn is so wrong that there is no GPS coverage over there. We may be lost, but we are never lost to Krishna. From wherever we are, Krishna has a path ready to get us back. So this understanding, Krishna tells Arjuna, you may feel lost, you may think, why do I have to fight against Bhishma and Drona? These are my elders, I want to worship them, not attack them. But you may think this life is going crazy. But Krishna says, I have a plan through all this. So that Krishna is here with us now. That Krishna has a purpose. And then that brings us to the last part. That is, I talked about God's power. Krishna doesn't just have a purpose for us and leave us. It's like somebody tells us, okay, you cook food for 100 people. I don't know cooking. I don't care. Not like that. Krishna will equip us for the challenges we are facing. And Krishna gives us empowerment. Empowerment means that whatever challenges we may face in life, it is not that Krishna abandons us, it's your karma, you deal with it. No. Whatever karma may get us to, Krishna will get us through. Above karma is Krishna. And Krishna is guiding us. Krishna doesn't care if somebody has done bad karma. Krishna, we may be unqualified to practice bhakti, but we are never disqualified from bhakti. Krishna never rejects us or abandons us, no matter what we may have done or what we may have not done. So the power that we talk about is, sometimes we think that, I conclude with one last point over here. When we are cultivating Krishna consciousness, sometimes we think of Krishna consciousness as forcing Krishna into our mind. It's like when we are chanting, it's like, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram Hare, Ram Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Krishna, where are you running? Come into my mind now. Oh, that's not the way. And sometimes our mind is running, we want to take our mind towards Krishna. But the point is that it's not about forcing Krishna into our mind. It is understanding that it is just opening our mind to Krishna. Krishna is here and I just need to open my mind. Even when things are going wrong. Sometimes things are all going wrong in my life and I just want to run away. I want to tune out from the whole world and just focus on Krishna. Yeah, sometimes as relief and rejuvenation we may need that. But even when things are going wrong at our level of perception, things are not wrong at Krishna's level of perception. So the empowerment that Krishna gives us is at one level to understand that things are as they are meant to be. As they are meant to be. That ultimately, within the plan of the Lord, things are happening. Now that doesn't mean everything is perfect. That doesn't mean things don't need to be fixed in the outer world or in our inner world. But even when things are not fixed, that doesn't mean Krishna has abandoned us. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur would say that there are many people who think I'll be a reformer for the world. He says anyone who thinks the world needs a reformation, that person's thinking needs reformation. Now does that mean things don't need to be fixed in the world? No, that's not the point. The point is that yes, even when things seem to be chaotically wrong, there is a plan of Krishna that is operating. And sometimes our power may be very small to affect things, affect changes. Sometimes our power may be larger. Rather than thinking that things are going wrong or thinking that I'm helpless and I'm being victimized. No. Yes, we may be victimized at one level, but another bigger level, Krishna's plan is working even through that. When Vidura was insulted by Duryodhana spoke very harsh words. And Vidura felt very hurt by that. But actually, if you consider Vidura, he was hurt by Duryodhana's insult. Duryodhana's insult hurt him, but more than that, Dhritarashtra's silence hurt him. Now that the harshest words of our critics or enemies don't hurt us as much as the silence of our friends. So this was extremely painful for him. And Duryodhana spoke out of his envy. Dhritarashtra remained silent because of his attachment to his son Duryodhana. But beyond it, Vidura saw that it is Krishna who is acting. That Krishna is giving me an opportunity to move away from here. He says, if I am here, I will be obliged to fight on the side of the Kauravas. But I don't have to do that. So, what Duryodhana did was, so we could say, things are wrong. Things are not just wrong, things are terribly wrong. Things are not the way they are meant to be. A younger person should not be insulting an elder. A brother should not be staying silent when his own brother is being insulted. Things are not as they are meant to be. And that's true. At that level. But there is a bigger level. There is a bigger level. And in that bigger level, Krishna had a plan for Vidura. And things are not wrong. So, when we talk about the power, this is the point I was going to conclude with, that Vidura realized at this particular point, I have no power over Dhritarashtra. Dhritarashtra is not going to listen to my words. So I accept this situation. So at this particular place, my power is less, my role is small. But eventually when the war got over, and Duryodhana was like the cancer in Dhritarashtra's life. Once that cancer was removed, then when Vidura came back, Dhritarashtra became ready to listen to Vidura's words. And those words led him to enlightenment. Vidura was always wise, but his wisdom did not impact Dhritarashtra. So, for all of us, when we say the power of Krishna's power, that sometimes in the course of our life, our kshetra might be very small. No, we can hardly influence anything. See, a newborn baby cannot control even its own body, isn't it? But as we grow, our kshetra, you could say for a newborn baby, the kshetra is less than its body also. For controlling its own body, it needs the mother and father to take care of them. It needs the mother to take care primarily. But as we keep growing, as we grow through life, our kshetra increases. Now, it's not just linear. As we grow older, our kshetra will increase. Sometimes in the course of our life, our kshetra means the sphere of influence, the area over which we have power. So, when our power seems to decrease, say we are working in a very successful job and suddenly we are fired. Hey, what's going on in my life? So that kshetra may be decreased right now. It may be because of past karma or whatever. But just because that kshetra has decreased doesn't mean Krishna has abandoned us. Whether our power is large or our power is small, Krishna's plan is still working. For Srila Prabhupada, if we consider Srila Prabhupada's life story, in 1922 he met his Guru Maharaj. Till 1968, when actually the Krishna consciousness movement started moving, Prabhupada's kshetra was actually very small. In 1962 we were growing, but not really much. Little growth was there. When he went to America, you could say his kshetra decreased. At least in India, he was respected as a sannyasi. America, they didn't even know what is a sannyasi. One devotee told me, the first time I saw a dhoti, I thought it is an oversized diaper. American devotee told me. They had no idea what is sannyasi. So, when Prabhupada was in America in the early days, he had to stand in line every morning to use the restroom. So his kshetra decreased. But then, as the preaching expanded, his kshetra became giant. His kshetra became huge. That across the world it spread. Prabhupada was able to build 108 temples. Prabhupada was able to write more than 70 books. He inspired thousands and thousands, even millions of people across the world. But it is not that when Prabhupada's influence was very small, meager, almost unnoticeable, it was not that Krishna's plan was not there. So Prabhupada was just as happy when he was alone walking on the streets of New York, chanting Krishna's name and writing about Krishna, as when he was speaking to thousands of people. Because for him, Krishna was not a future concept to be realized. For him, Krishna was here, now, always. So like that, what the Bhagavad Gita tells, when it says Krishna is invisible thread that underlies and unifies everything. Sutre Manigana Iva. So sometimes our life may be filled with very attractive jewels. Sometimes our life may be just filled with stones that seem to burden us and attract anyone. But Krishna is the underlying thread of truth always. So I'll summarize what we discussed today. Our theme today, we discussed about how Krishna is here now. Krishna is not far away. So I talked about the Gita's flow briefly, that how the Gita is starting from Arjuna's situation, action. It talks about Karma Yoga, and then it talks about Dhyan Yoga, and then that chapters 1 to 6. And then it starts talking about Bhakti Yoga from chapters 7 to 12. And here in 7.1 we are discussing, Krishna is telling that if you have to remember me, that so initially the point was be detached. Be detached from things. But later Krishna says, don't just be detached, become attached to Krishna. Attached to me. So in that connection, I discuss what does this becoming attached to mean. That we understand about that Krishna is here now at 3 levels. Remember the 3 levels? What are the first? Krishna's presence. That realizing Krishna's presence can give us peace. That there is a bigger reality. Initially, if you're not Krishna conscious, the world feels big and Krishna feels small. But as we grow spiritually, Krishna becomes big and the world becomes small. When this happens, we feel peaceful. So anyone from where they are, instead of, I have to go back to Krishna in the spiritual world. Right now, what we need is tuning our consciousness. So Bhakti is basically about tuning our consciousness to Krishna's presence, and we can start experiencing peace through the presence. Second was purpose. That Krishna is not just a passive presence with whom we feel peaceful for some time. Actually, Krishna has a purpose for us in this world. And this world is important for Krishna. Krishna wants things to be better in this world. We discussed the example of, yes, ultimately we have to go beyond this world. The river has to get to the ocean. But while going to the ocean, the river is meant to sustain life forms along the way. So like that, this is our kshetra for seva, that we have a purpose in this world, and that purpose is never lost. We discussed how that even through mistakes that may happen, Krishna's plan goes on. I discussed the example of Vidura, of Sugriva, that although there's a terrible misunderstanding, it's like a GPS, Krishna's plan was still working. There's God's positioning system. And the last was power. That when we go through life, sometimes we may feel that, things are all wrong. But the fact is, things are as they are meant to be. That doesn't necessarily mean all is right, but even through the wrong, a right purpose is being served. So I discussed the example of Vidura over here. Vidura, at one level, the way Duryodhana dealt with him was wrong. The way Dhritarashtra dealt with him was wrong. But through their dealings, Krishna was acting. And that was right. So, now, things may be wrong at one level, but at another level, things are not wrong. Krishna's plan is working and things are right. And what happened, we discussed that for Vidura, at that time, what was wrong, he could not fix it. So he accepted it. And things are wrong, he walked away from there. But eventually, what happens for us, sometimes our kshetra might be small, sometimes our kshetra might become large. So we discussed when Vidura later came back, When Duryodhana was no longer in the life of Dhritarashtra, his words had impact. Srila Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada, when he was alone with nobody seeming to take his message seriously, it is not that he was miserable and unhappy, everything is wrong. No, this is also Krishna's plan going on. So, understanding Krishna's power, that Krishna is the source of all power, and sometimes within his plan my power may be less, sometimes my power may be more. So I accept that and we stay connected with Krishna. In this way, the understanding, the sense of that we say that when we understand the presence, we get peace. When we understand the purpose, we get a sense of direction. We feel purposeful, we feel inspired. That there's something for me to do also. And we understand that Krishna is the source of power, we get acceptance. Acceptance that when my role is small, I'll accept the small role. When my role has become big, when my kshetra has become, I'll accept the responsibility over there. And so whatever situation, Krishna, you put me in, I will accept the role of serving you within that. And this way, by hearing this, Arjuna becomes empowered. That Arjuna has put aside his bow, saying, I can't fight. By the end of the Gita, he's raised his bow in readiness to fight. So what happens to Arjuna also applies to all of us. Just like Arjuna on the chariot, our body is like a chariot. And Krishna is like as the Paramatma with us. So life may make us like Arjuna, putting aside a bow. I just can't do it. I've had enough. I quit. But no, by hearing the Gita's message, by understanding Krishna's presence, purpose and power, we can also become inspired like Arjuna to face whatever life throws our way. Thank you very much. Shri Krishna Bhagavan ki Jai. Are there any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna, thank you very much for such a hope-giving class. And sorry, I'm apologizing from the onset if I'm not able to articulate my question well. But as you mentioned here on the fourth stage, we understand our kshetra and power. Sometimes in hindsight, it's easier to understand it was Krishna's plan indeed, and that worked out well. But in foresight, when we try to live our life and plan things in certain way, so how far do we push our kshetra, and when do we know it's the right time to give up or accept things as they are?
Yeah. So if we are in a situation where we are very restricted, how much should we push against the situations and try to expand our kshetra? Yeah. Now, I can tell some principles. Ultimately, each one of us has to make our decision. The first is, what is in the past? That we accepted that it's Krishna's plan. That wherever we are, that we can't change the past. Now we can accept it with a sense of resignation or frustration. Oh, I should have done like that. I should have taken this job. I should have done this, not done, answered this question this way. But no. That we might have taken a wrong turn, but even through that wrong turn, Krishna can bring out some good. So, we cannot practice bhakti effectively unless we come to peace with our past. If we are constantly resenting our past, oh, this person mistreated me like this, I made a mess of my life like this, that is, okay, yes, maybe we may feel I should have come to bhakti much earlier when I was younger. Why did I take so much time? No. It's good to think like that, but don't think that Krishna's plan is not working. Maybe we had to go through some experiences so that we evolved to a particular level of consciousness where we could break up bhakti. We don't know that. So don't resent the past. Come to peace with the past. That's very important. Now, my mother helped me to do that with respect to my polio. When I was one, I was given a defective vaccine, polio vaccine. It was kept in the fridge, which its temperature had got up. And germs had increased. So when I got the vaccine, I got polio because of that, instead of preventing polio. Now I don't remember that, but overall I don't remember ever feeling much resentful about my polio. Yes, I need crutches for walking, but for me my crutches are like my glasses. I can't see very well without glasses, but it's no big deal. Put on the glasses and move on with life. Like pick up crutches and move on with life. And one reason I don't have that resentment is one thing my mother said when I was about 2.5 or 3. She didn't tell it to me. She told it to a distant relative who had come to visit us, and that person was consoling my mother, saying, "It's so sad your son got polio." And my mother said, whatever he lacks physically, God will provide him intellectually. So now the point is that we may or may not have had somebody to remind us like that, point us like that, but we have to come to peace with our past. That whatever has happened, no matter how bad, Krishna's plan is working. Now that brings us, so we come to peace with our past. Not a resentful peace because I can't change it, so I accept it. No, however it was, Krishna will work through it. Krishna will bring some good out of it. I don't know how it will be. So it is a graceful peace rather than a resentful peace, as much as possible. Now after that, when it comes to our present. So in general, we are all meant to endeavor. Nahi suptasya simhasya pravishanti mukhe mruga. A tiger or a lion is a powerful animal, but that doesn't mean a deer is going to come in its mouth. Udyamane nahi siddhanti. That actually we attain success only by endeavor. So we are all meant to endeavor. But so the present, we could say, is the domain of endeavor for us. Now how much do we endeavor? The nectar of instruction talks about atyahar and prayasa. The Gita also says yukta ahara viharasya. So endeavor, we are all meant to endeavor in life. Now, Arjuna endeavored. He had archery talent, but he practiced his archery tirelessly. That's important. But the endeavor should not be disproportionate. What does disproportionate mean? That endeavoring, we all act in various areas. So for example, we have our family, we have our job, we have our health, we have our spirituality, we have our bhakti. So now the endeavor in one area should not become so consuming that it pulls us out of all other areas. That, say, in my job I'm not growing and I want to grow. But I become so consumed with my job that people become workaholics. And sometimes the word workaholic is used in a positive sense. It's not actually positive. It's almost like an intoxication. The work becomes the only identity of the person. They neglect their family, they neglect their health, and they may succeed professionally, but they will be just completely lonely. So we need to endeavor in every area of life. But the endeavor in one area should not pull us out of all the other areas of life. Say if one relationship is not working for us, maybe a friend or a relative or a significant other it's not working. Now, say the husband and wife have a problem, yes, they have to deal with that. But that does not mean they take it out on their child. Isn't it? I want to fix this and I will try to fix this. But that does not mean that I will not be available for my child or I will not be available for my other roles. So that understanding that endeavor in one area, in certain times, one particular area may require more endeavor. No doubt, if you have a big deadline in our company, then we have to work more. We have to neglect some other areas. That's okay. But if every day somebody says I have to work for 16 hours, 18 hours or something like that, then that's not a sustainable way of functioning. So we have to endeavor to fix things in our various areas. But so disproportionate endeavor means that it is disruptive or destructive of other areas in life. So don't endeavor to that extent. Krishna says, dharma aviruddho bhuteshu kamosmi. Now, kama is sometimes translated as sex, that is sex desire, but kama also means ambition. So, we all can have ambition, but ambition should not go against dharma. There are ethical boundaries. There are boundaries of morality and responsibility. In pursuing ambition in one area, we don't violate boundaries. Like say we all want our children to do well in school. And say a child is not doing very well and one day the child comes back and says that, hey mummy, I came first in class. Wonderful, how did you do that? I wanted to please you so I did it. Oh wonderful, how did you do that? You know, I hacked my teacher's computer, I got the whole paper and I got full marks. You know, that's not the way I wanted you to come first, isn't it? So, ambition, the karma should not go against dharma. Okay, so that's the second principle. Okay, thank you.
Anybody else like to ask something?
Thank you again, Prabhu. We're so fortunate. Spiritual genius like you come and just make these concepts so simple. Prabhu, in fact, Prabhu here, we were discussing this the other day. It's not related to this verse. Do you mind if I ask Prabhu, or is that okay? Yeah. Prabhu, this is your Gita daily wisdom quotes from third chapter. You summarized it, chapter summary. And there are two aspects of it. One is that you say how, no matter what, you have to set an example because others follow, like King Janaka and others. That makes sense. The other thing, which is probably relevant to book marathon, which is coming up now, where you say that, not you, but Krishna, and therefore you quite lucidly have explained this, saying that those who are not, I'm paraphrasing it, those who are not ready for Krishna consciousness, or something which is higher obviously, don't disturb them in their own natural habitats, if you like. But when you're going to book distribution now, which is kind of relevant in one way. So, any words of wisdom there, please? Thank you.
Yes. So when the Gita says that we should not disturb others' minds, 3.26, na buddhi bhedam janaye ajnanam karma sanginam joshayet sarva karmani vidwan yukta samachara. So when we go out to distribute books, we are not letting people live their lives comfortably. We are trying to give Krishna to them. So is that disruption? Not necessarily. So if you look at what Krishna is saying in this verse, is that there are two levels. There's a level of the level people who are vidwan, who are wise, and who are yuktaha. They are spiritually connected. They're in terms of intelligence and action, vidwan and yuktaha. And the opposite is buddhi bhedam ajnanam. Ajnanam is ignorant. And there is ajnanam karma sanginam. So karma sangi is attached. So there are attached ignorant people and there are wise and connected people. So now if we to some extent are here and there's somebody who is here. Now we would like people to rise to the well-connected spiritual level. But sometimes it may happen that when we want people to rise all the way up here, that may become too much for them. And if it becomes too much, then they try to go up and they end up going further down. So for example, say somebody is worshipping Ganesh. We tell them, you should worship only Krishna. And we quote Shastra and they go and talk with their relatives and they find this shloka says Ganesh is supreme and they say this shloka says this is Krishna is supreme and they say that, this whole religion business is very confusing. So better I become an atheist. Then what has happened is, we have ended up doing a disservice. So when somebody is at a particular level, we want to elevate them from that level to a higher level. If they cannot come to a higher level right away, if most people are here are Indians from a Hindu background more or less. So there's only one country in the world where ISKCON is officially banned, and that is Singapore. And the reason it happened is that when our devotees, first generation devotees, mostly Westerners, they came to Singapore and the devotees were welcoming the people over there. The Hinduism is officially recognized religion. And the Hindus were very impressed. Oh, these Western people are practicing Bhakti. They invited them to temples to give classes. And there are Ayyappa temple and Ganesh temple and Kartikeya temple. And in those temples, our devotees started saying, that Alpamedasa, you are less intelligent if you are worshipping devatas. And that created such a disturbance for them. They told the government that these people are disturbing our religious faith, and the government banned us. So now, if we are going to their forum, we have to speak a message that is acceptable for them. No Hindu will say Krishna is not God. The problem is not with Krishna is God. The problem is Krishna alone is God. Now, we have to be incremental. Instead of, it's just not proper etiquette. If we go to somebody else's organized forum and criticize their beliefs over there, that if they are providing us a forum, then we have to present in a way that is acceptable for them. So if I am invited for Ganesh Puja kind of programs, then I glorify Lord Ganesh, talk some life lessons from him, and then I talk about how Ganesh's signature contribution is that he offered his own task to write the Mahabharata. And in the Mahabharata is the Bhagavad Gita. So this is a labor of love, this book that has been written. So let us read that book. And when they read that book, they'll get higher truths. So the point is that we need to create incremental pathways with steps that people can get to the higher level. And different people may require different degrees of steps also. So some people may rise up, it will be Bahunam Janmanam Ante. But you will see that actually Srila Prabhupada himself, if you see among Srila Prabhupada's followers, there were Srila Prabhupada's disciples who just gave their life to Krishna. They left everything and came to Krishna. But Srila Prabhupada also had life members. The life members did not become dedicated followers. Very few of them became initiated. But they did a lot of service at that particular time. And Prabhupada created a place for them. So that when we go for distributing books, certainly we want to open the door for people to come to a higher level. And that's what we are doing. But we don't have to disrespect or insult their beliefs at that time. No, if they have some other conception, we don't have to criticize their conception at that particular time. We can just find some common ground and encourage them to dive deeper and end the interaction on a positive, favorable note. So that is to create a disturbance means what? That everybody has some worldview which makes some sense for them. Now, it's like somebody is very poor and they are on the streets, they are homeless, and they are having a very thin, torn, tattered kind of cloth with which they are protecting themselves from cold. And we tell them, hey, I'll give you this thick comforter. Just take this. Throw away your tattered sheet and I'll give you the comforter. Now, that tattered sheet is the only relief from cold that they have experienced. If they don't know how the comforter feels, they may not be ready for it. And if we try to pull that sheet away from them, they will fight against us with their life itself. So whatever the worldview that a person may have, their worldview is like that cloth that is helping them make some sense of life, giving them some protection from the chilling cold of an utterly meaningless life. So what we need to do is not pull away the cloth that is sheltering them right now. Rather, that cloth might be there, we can put the comforter on top of it. That means give them an opportunity to experience Krishna. Give them an opportunity to understand Krishna's wisdom. There's no need to confront and confuse or confound them right now. There is a time that is required, but that at the appropriate time will come. So don't disturb people's minds means that we should not act in a way that pushes people away from Krishna. We may want to push them toward Krishna, but we push so much that we push them away from Krishna. So that's what we should not do. Okay? Thank you for that question.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Can I take one more time?
This is a more personal question to you. I hope you don't mind me saying, but this is a fact. You are such a huge asset to ISKCON, not least because of your amazing intelligence. Your analysis, your classes. Many say that, I'm sure you've heard this many times, not attend your class, you don't have to prepare. We have to prepare to come to attend your classes. That's generally the case.
In the past, I would think of that as a compliment. Now I see it as a matter of concern.
Prabhu, my question really is that how do you resist I suppose, because intelligence and knowledge is one of the vibhutis, you have that vibhuti in so much abundance. How do you resist the temptation of, I suppose, becoming proud? Or you probably don't have the temptation, and maybe I'm being ignorant thinking like that, but okay, I'll put the question this way. Anyone who has that intelligence, if they are trying to use the Krishna, how would you advise not to fall in that trap of thinking, look, how amazing I am?
Okay. Well, if we have intelligence, how do we avoid pride? Well, I think there are, first of all, it's not that I don't have pride. All of us have struggling with that. We have that struggle. But see, I talk about the 3 different levels. First, I'll talk at a philosophical level. See, we often think that there is ego, and the opposite of that is humility. We should not be proud, we should be humble. While there is truth to that, but actually there are 3 factors involved, not 2. One side is ego. The other side is insecurity. And in between is humility. So ego is I know everything, I can do everything. Basically I am God. That is Mayavad. Insecurity is I know nothing, I can do nothing. I am nothing. That is Shunyavad. So in between is Mamaivamsho Jivaloki. I am something and I can do some things. So many times when we tell people don't be proud, what happens is, it's an important thing, don't be proud, but if we don't differentiate between humility and insecurity, we end up creating insecurity in others, creating a sense of worthlessness. Now, nobody is worthless. Everyone is precious for Krishna. So humility is I am something and I can do some things. So we want humility. We don't want ego, but we don't want insecurity also. And many people who seem to have a lot of ego, in my observation, actually their ego is a mask to conceal their insecurity. That if I don't put on this facade, if I don't put on these airs, nobody will notice me, nobody will respect me. And so it's not a very pleasant situation to be oscillating between these 2, ego and insecurity. So humility is not insecurity. Now having said this, in general, Krishna has his ways to keep us humble if we become proud. So for me, my challenge is that I am too intellectual for most people. What I mean by that is that, see, nothing in this world is a pure blessing. Every blessing comes with a burden, and every curse comes with a chance. So being intellectual is good to some extent, but many devotees tell me that आपका क्लास सुनता हो तो दिमाग से धुआं आता है. Yeah, I didn't know that. I hear your class, my head starts smoking. It is so much work for them. So I asked my spiritual master, Radhanath Maharaj, and people tell me my classes are very intellectual. But I told him, Maharaj, I am not intentionally intellectual. It's just the way I think. It's not that I am deliberately looking for more difficult words to use. Those are just the right words, and I think of those words. So I told Maharaj, it's very difficult for me to change. So Maharaj said, you don't have to change yourself. Maharaj said that if Gaur Gopal Prabhu tries to be intellectual like you, it won't work. If you try to be humorous like Gaur Gopal Prabhu, it won't work. And Maharaj himself is so humble, so disarming. He said that, as far as I am concerned, I am neither intellectual like you, nor humorous like Gaur Gopal Prabhu. So I said, Maharaj, whatever abilities we have, it is by your mercy. So Maharaj was grave and he said, but Krishna has gifted me with deep concern for others. And with that concern in my heart, whatever I speak, it seems to inspire others. So, Maharaj told me, you don't have to change yourself, but increase your concern for others. And I wondered what that meant. How do I increase my concern for others? So, I started actually traveling outside India and doing international outreach from 2014. So I reheard some of what I consider my best classes. This was about 2019, 2020, just before the pandemic. I mean, this meeting with Maharaj. So I heard some of my classes to see, to try to understand, how can I show more concern for others. And those were my classes, but I had to pay full attention to understand what I was saying. Some of the points I remembered, some of the points I had forgotten, but why am I saying this point after this point? What is this example for? How is this linked? And then I realized that if it's so difficult for me to understand, how much more difficult it will be for my audience to understand. That's when I started exploring, how can I make things more easier to understand. So then I started making PowerPoints for all my classes. I made almost 2,000 PowerPoints or something like that in that time, the pandemic. But then I found it very restrictive, because PowerPoints means you have to speak only what is in the slide, and it does not leave room for spontaneity or creativity in the moment. So then over a period of time I discovered this method of writing and drawing. So here I can be creative and whatever I am speaking, I can illustrate that. So this has worked quite well for many devotees. Tell me now that we feel we understand your classes a little bit more now. So then I told Maharaj about this. Has been a big help. This tool has been a very big help for me. Maharaj told me, that's good, but don't let the tool blind you to the principle. Principle is that have concern for others. So I think that fact that my classes were intellectual was not really helping me fulfill my purpose. My purpose was to help people understand. So in that sense, like some devotees may be brilliant kirtaniers. But sometimes their kirtan, they sing the Hare Krishna mantra in such a complicated tune that kirtan is not a participation, it's just a performance. They sing and we can just hear. It's nice in some way to see their musical ability, but then kirtan is meant to be participatory, isn't it? So I think what has helped me to some extent is to keep the purpose in mind. That our purpose is not just to show off our intelligence. The purpose is to ourselves go closer to Krishna and help others go closer to Krishna. So if we keep that in mind, it becomes easier. And one thing is that Krishna gives us abilities, but Krishna gives all of us limitations also. And remembering our limitations alone. See, if we remember only our abilities, it's easy to develop ego. But if you remember only our inadequacies, it's very easy to start feeling insecure. That we all have areas in which we are not good at. So for me, it's music. I tried to learn kirtan, and there's a devotee who was teaching me. He taught me for a few weeks, and he said, "You can have this as a next lifetime project." So now what we need to do is, we have to ourselves manage that balance. That how much should I remember my abilities and how much should I remember my inadequacies, so that I can maintain my humility. Too much in either direction is not healthy. Okay. Thank you very much. Shri Prabhupada ki, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki, Nitai Gaur Premanande. So, a quick announcement. I already talked about this book, Prayers Inspired by Bhagavad Gita. There are 122 prayers in this book.